At the start of lockdown, I launched Nigel Farage Investigates. Why? Because there were stories that I felt the national press simply weren't covering. So you might have seen me going out into the English Channel, highlighting that the number of migrants illegally coming to Britain by boat was increasing. Little did I know back then that the number this year would be 8,500 already who've come via that route. I then went on to a hotel in Bromsgrove, other hotels all over the north of England, because we've got this huge number of people. I discovered 48,000 people illegally in the country waiting for asylum claims to be processed, even though 80% of them would never ever qualify. So I covered that story. The only reason Nigel Farage Investigates works is because of you. Is because of you emailing in, telling me about stories, telling me about pubs that have been done over by local licensing officers or whatever it may be. Today, as a result of an email, we find ourselves in rural Hampshire, and we're going to a village called Barton Stacey. It's just off the 303. I must have passed the sign 1,000 times, going to Cornwall on holiday and on business. I don't know much about Barton Stacey, other than it was an army camp, and that my father was commissioned into the tank regiment there in 1954. That's all I know. I've passed the road sign time and again. In a minute, we'll take the left-hand turn and go and have a look. What I do know is the population of Barton Stacey is 1,000 people, and that what was the big army camp back in the 1950s is now MOD land that isn't being used for anything, and the Home Office have got their eyes on it, because remember, we went to Napier Barracks in Folkestone, there was another army camp in Pengally, and they were all filled up with people who'd recently arrived from across the Channel. Indeed, there's a new story out today, Jamie Johnson, Daily Telegraph, under an FOI, that at least 2 people a week are absconding from Napier Barracks and just disappearing off into the community. So far, this story about Barton Stacey has not had much coverage. It seems to me, and we'll find out more when we get there, but it seems to me it's right next to this main road. The nearest town is Andover, a few miles away, and the concerns I've got from residents who've emailed me is there are going to be up to 500 people, mostly Africans, because that's who's coming in to the UK now across the Channel, and they'll be free to wander alongside this road to go into Andover. So we're going to get there, meet some of the people who've emailed in to me. This is Nigel Farage Investigates in rural Hampshire. So here we are, we're on the 303, here's the turn off to Barton Stacey. Beautiful there. Yeah, fish there. So this really is rural Hampshire. Jack Hargreaves, Hampshire. Fishing, shooting, rural life. It's about to change. So this is Barton Stacey. It's the quintessential English village here in Hampshire. The church, 10th century church, so that's before the Normans came. The post office, the pub, not open, alas. You need your parish councillors and district councillors. They've all got to fight pretty hard.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're quite united in not really wanting this, aren't we?
So chatting to local residents inside the store here, you can imagine there's a huge level of concern. As someone said, all we've got here is a trout fishery. There are no toilets, there are no facilities, there's nothing. So they are genuinely concerned about what's going to happen. And they're hoping that their parish council, district council, county council and local MP will kick up enough of a stink. What's the perception amongst local people? I'm sure you, as chairman of the parish council, your finger's on the pulse.
They're not happy.
No. Well,
happy. I mean, they're understanding, and they understand that these people are, have got to be looked after. But you don't look after young men or anyone by plonking them down in the middle of nowhere with nothing to do.
I mean, as you say, 500 young men with nothing to do, and right next to a main road as well.
Right next door to a really busy main road.
And do you think the Home Office have come and looked at the site? And
well, I would like to think that they have, but I can't believe, because any self-respecting man or woman would take one look at that and say, well, this just won't do.
So they always say, the Home Office always say, that it's intended to be temporary.
I know.
But all the while the flow across the English Channel comes, it tends to become permanent.
No, I mean, temporary, I say to people, various people have run me up and said, what do you think? And I said, well, how do you define the word temporary?
Quite. No, quite. No,
Nigel, all I can say.
Well, what a pleasure to meet you, and thank you. And I wish you well. I really do. I love honey.
What it is? It's quite. I guess it's Hampshire honey from Mrs. P's Bees.
He wasn't buying the honey.
No, I'm going to buy some honey. Absolutely.
Your honey.
Better give him his change.
Well, thank you very much. No, I'm going to insist that you put the rest in the church box.
Oh, well, I will.
I am. What a beautiful church, and 10th century, wonderful. You know, it's
this way, my darling.
because there aren't that many 10th century churches. Lots of 11th and 12th century churches, but not that many 10th. So
His father started off his.
my father was commissioned here in 1954. Yes, in the tank regiment. Yeah. There we are.
I don't want you to disappoint.
That is going to be for my breakfast tomorrow. There's no question about that. Well, not all of it. No.
Might be quite ill.
Well, delightful people. You know, the Brigadier is chairman of the local parish council. I'm looking forward to the honey. Yeah, it's a beautiful village, and they're obviously very, very worried. But actually, given just how inappropriate this site is, there may just be a chance of getting this one stopped. I'd quite forgotten. I have been here before. I fished here a couple of times. But this is it. This is the only recreational facility that's here in Little Barton Stacey. I'm not sure the 500 that are coming are really going to be into fly fishing. So I said earlier, the only way that Nigel Farage Investigates works is because people send me emails. Here's one of them. It's Rob Shepherd. Rob, you put me in touch with this. You're a local guy.
Correct.
What have we got here?
Basically, this is the new site where 500 asylum seekers will be housed temporarily if it all gets voted through. Basically, they say temporarily, but like I say, the average claim I think takes about 6 months. And
then there's an appeals process.
Correct, and with hundreds coming in each month, there's going to be, like I say, there's going to be hundreds of these locations dotted around the country, I think, the next few years.
So this is 500 porter cabins they're going to put on what was an army barracks going back years and years. And you can probably see the dual carriageway is right next to it. The village is just down the road. If we have to house people, I can't think of anywhere more inappropriate.
No, like I say, it's an idyllic Hampshire village, really. Everywhere you look, really, is you know, you've got a nice Norman church, literally a 5-minute walk away. It's people come here to sort of mainly to retire in peace and quiet, live their lives in you know, sort of tranquility, and you can have a mini Calais jungle dumped on their doorstep, aren't they? At the end of the day, so.
I went into the village and people were quite polite, but I'd imagine there's some genuine concern. But what are 500 young men put here? What are they? I mean, they're going to walk down the road to Andover, aren't they?
Correct. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the population of that village is 1,000. I think, like I say, you've got 7 miles. You're in Andover. Winchester, you know, rich cultural city in England. Again, it's only 4-5 miles that way.
Yeah.
So again, it's not what people voted for. I don't believe, you know, and I think the major problem is you need to sort of stop it at source before it gets to this stage.
Well, I have been trying to wake people up to what's going on. Well, the last figure I had is that we're housing 56,000 people who've come in illegally, claim asylum. 80% don't even qualify to begin with, and yet we try and do deportations, and all the love is protest and say we're being beastly. I know. Well, thank you so much for.
You keep up the good work.
You know, I know. By whatever means, I will keep doing things. I think the question is it fair? Is it reasonable that in this village of 1,000 people, they're about to have, if the Home Office go ahead with their plans, and I see no reason why they won't, is it fair and reasonable they have 500 people plonked right on their doorstep, virtually none of whom will even speak English? Why has it got to this? Well, when I started doing this, there were 48,000 people being housed by the Home Office who'd come here illegally. The last I heard, that figure is 56,000, and virtually nobody is being removed. Those who failed their asylum claims aren't being removed. We've even had cases of serious foreign criminals, and I'm talking about rapists and murderers, who, when they're about to be deported, some of the lovies turn up and say, no, they should stay. I can't quite work out what sort of madness has gripped us. But in a sense, starting off on the coast in Sussex, seeing areas where little boats were landing, and finishing up months later here with my last report of the year from Barton Stacey, just shows you we have got a massive problem. It is costing us billions and billions of pounds. It is causing us social problems. And I want to say this. there is, I have no doubt, a real question here of national security. President Macron in France, in the wake of some horrible attacks over the course of the last couple of months, he is actually protecting France's borders, doing his utmost to stop illegals getting into France via the southern border, so much does he fear this is a means for terrorists to get into the country. We do not have a clue who we're letting in, and when we get people here, they're simply able, as we've seen at Napier Barracks, to abscond, just disappear into the community. And I know we've got the COVID crisis, I know we've got endless Brexit talks, but with this, we are storing up massive social problems for our future. I keep hearing something's going to be done. Chris Philp, the immigration minister, is promising new laws next year. But how's that going to work, given that we've already accepted we're going to stay part of the European human rights regime, and it's under the Human Rights Act, by which we put it into UK law, that people appeal again and again and finish up not being deported. I don't look forward to 2021, frankly, with any prospect of this situation improving. I really don't.